Yer. Yer. What up? What up? What up? I say what up? What up? What up? Let me make sure my motherfucking sound is together. Make sure we good. What up? Okay. We live 365. We live 365. Let's go. We in the building. We in the building. I'm out here looking like I'm about to hit a lick and shit, but we in the fucking building, man. What I do, man? Welcome to Talk Your Shit Boxing, episode 6 on the realest motherfucking boxing channel there is, Box or Die. You know what I'm saying? If you haven't, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you like the stream so we can continue to do what the fuck we do. But that said, welcome to Talk Your Shit Boxing, man. We here to talk some good big boy boxing shit. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna have some fun. You know what I mean? We're gonna talk some technical boxing shit tonight, man. You see what the title of the video is. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna do our thing tonight, man. But welcome, goddamn, welcome. Welcome, goddamn, welcome. Let me see if anybody in the building before we start cooking. You know what I'm saying? Let me see if anybody is in the building. See a few people watching, man. I don't know who you is, but shout out to y'all out here in the building watching, man. We got a good little stream for you today. We're going to be breaking down some fights. We're going to be talking some technical shit. You know what I'm saying? It should be real interesting. You know what I'm saying? You know, we're going to try, you know, we're going to really break some shit down. So it should be a real good stream, man. It should be a really good stream. As it stands right now in boxing, we have a few fights that are seems like they're done. You know what I mean? We got dates, we got schedules, we got people, the right people talking about the fight actually happening. We got a few things going on with the fights. It's looking really good with these fights that we're going to be talking about right now. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to go ahead and break them down. We're going to give some predictions. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I mean? And it's going to be pretty detailed in this stream, man. You know, we're going to give predictions, we're going to give ratios. We want to find out we want to look at some odds and stuff. What are the odds of this person winning and the odds of that person winning? We're going to do some real technical shit today, man. God damn it. Hold on. I left my goddamn notebook. Hold on one sec. All right. That was quick. So yeah, man, like I said, man, we got a few fights that looks like they're in the book. So we're going to go ahead and try to break them down. It's going to be a real technical episode or a real technical live today. But we're going to get it in, man. So the first fight that we're going to talk about, man, is a fight that a lot of people have been discussing. It seems like it's a done deal. You know, I'm not one of these boxing reporters that's going to just, this is done deal, you know, fight done. Both fighters agreed to terms, that sort of thing. You know what I mean? But it does appear to be, this fight appears to be done. You know what I'm saying? This fight appears to be in the books. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about it. But before we actually jump into the first fight, I want to give y'all my criteria on how I break down fights. Like I said, it's gonna be really specific. You know what I'm saying? I break down fights by style. I break them down by speed. I break them down by fighters' IQs, the power, the experience, technical skills, intangible things, which means that maybe not things that are necessarily quantifiable. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, we're going to be giving predictions, you know what I'm saying, at the end of it. You know what I mean? So let's go ahead and dive right into the first fight, man. And we're going to go ahead and break it down. And the first fight is actually the biggest fight. The first fight is actually the biggest fight and the most meaningful fight to the sport of boxing right now. And that's Chella versus Jose Ramirez. That's the biggest fight right now. You know what I'm saying? It might not be the best fight ever, even though it's gonna be a good fight, a really good fight. But it's definitely the most meaningful fight in boxing right now. This fight is for undisputed. You know what I'm saying? Both fighters are undefeated. You know what I mean? It's gonna be a very meaningful fight. You know what I mean? And I think we got two fighters that really prove themselves along the way to pick up those two belts. You know what I'm saying? So it should be a really, really good scrap. But like I said, we're gonna break it down, and I'm gonna give you guys a prediction on who I think is gonna win the fucking fight between Josh Chella and Jose Ramirez. Let's start with that first, because that's a banger right there. That is a banger. All right, so let's talk about their styles real briefly, right? So for me, Josh Taylor is more of a counter puncher. He's more of a guy who tries to catch you up. He waits a little bit. You know what I'm saying? He tries to counter punch, and then he'll like flurry you in spots. You know what I'm saying? Like Josh Taylor is one of those dudes who Josh Taylor is one of those dudes who he'll hit and run a little bit, flurry a little bit, catch you in little kind. He does a little bit of everything. He's kind of good at everything. He's good at everything. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of rate his style like he's just a dude who does a little bit of everything. He's kind of one of those dudes. He does what's necessary. You know what I'm saying? Jose Ramirez, on the other hand, he's one of those guys who he's a very aggressive fighter. You know what I'm saying? He's very Sean Porterish at times, you know, where he'll kind of rush you in and he'll throw a lot of punches and bunches. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's a really good contrast in styles for Jose Ramirez and Josh Taylor. A really good contrast in styles. Jose Ramirez is going to be rushing in. Josh Taylor is kind of going to be fighting off his back foot. But here's the thing about both of these dudes. Both of these dudes are really tall, but they fight on the inside primarily. You know what I mean? So like it doesn't even for both fighters, it doesn't even make sense that they're 5'10, 5'11, you know what I'm saying, fighting at 140 pounds, because they're both looking to close the gap and fight on the inside. I think Josh Taylor is a little bit better at fighting on the inside. But we're jumping ahead a little bit. But Jose Ramirez is more of a pressure guy. Josh Taylor is more of a, I want to say, kind of catch you up in exchanges, counter puncher, a little bit like that. And he's also the guy who can kind of do a little bit of everything pretty good. You know what I'm saying? He's one of those guys. Okay. So that's how I analyze their styles. You know what I'm saying? Now let's talk about some speed. Let's talk about speed. That's first on the docket. Now I actually feel like Josh Taylor has the faster hand speed. I feel like he has the faster hand speed. But I feel like Jose Ramirez has the faster foot speed, because he rushes in so much. He's always closing in the gap. You know what I'm saying? He's one of those dudes that's gonna corner you really fast. You know what I'm saying? So while Josh may be able to throw the faster combinations, Jose Ramirez is gonna be the one that's gonna be setting the distance a lot. Even though Josh Taylor's really good at distance, I see Jose Ramirez kind of making him uncomfortable, creating that space and creating that distance. So it should be really interesting to see how, as the fight progresses, how they manage that distance, that space. It should be really interesting to see how that works, because Jose Ramirez is going to be looking to close the distance. Josh Taylor is going to be looking to kind of fight off his back foot on the outside, and then at spots kind of fight on the inside. You know what I'm saying? One good fight that I like to reference for Jose Ramirez is when he fought Emir Imam. Emir Imam is a really good outside fighter. You know what I'm saying? And over the course of the fight, Josh Taylor was kind of able to, you know, wear him down and kind of like, you know, pressure him enough to get him to make mistakes along the way. You know what I mean? So I kind of see Jose Ramirez kind of being able to do that to Josh Taylor to a certain degree, thus making him very uncomfortable as the fight progresses. You know what I'm saying? So it should be very interesting in that aspect. But as far as hand speed, I give that to Josh Taylor. As far as foot speed, I give that to Jose Ramirez. The next category is going to be the boxing IQ. Josh Taylor has a better boxing IQ. To me, he's not as one dimensional as Jose Ramirez. He has little spots in fights where he fights differently, where he'll close the gap and he'll fight on the inside, or where he'll back up and fight on his back foot from the outside. He doesn't typically fight on the outside, but you can see he can use that whenever he needs to. He'll use it for a minute and then go back to fighting on the inside. He's a little better at that than I would say Jose Ramirez. And to me, I equate boxing IQ with your ability to kind of give different looks, in the right spots. And to me, Josh Taylor has that ability to be able to give those different looks. So that's how I'm looking at that. You know what I'm saying? As far as the boxing IQ is concerned, Josh Taylor got that one. So far right now, I got Josh Taylor with the faster hand speed, Jose with the faster foot speed, Josh Taylor with the better boxing IQ. All right. Now to the experience. Their experience is pretty similar. I like the wins that Jose Ramirez has better than Josh Taylor. I like that Imam win. I like that win against Maurice Hooker from Josh Taylor. Those are two really, really good fucking wins. On the other end, Josh Taylor has some good wins against Regis Prograis and things like that. But I feel like Regis Prograis, Emir Imam would beat Regis Prograis to me. You know what I'm saying? Maurice Hooker would beat Regis Prograis to me. You know what I'm saying? But so I like Jose Ramirez's resume. I like his experience a little bit better than Josh Taylor, but ultimately I feel like their experiences are pretty comparable at the end of the day. That's how I feel about that. All right. But they're equal. That's my answer. Then there's the technical boxing skill. To me, hands down, Josh Taylor has the better technical boxing skills. He's just more balanced of a fighter. He's able to do more than Jose Ramirez. He's able to shorten up his punches when he's fighting on the inside. He snaps his jab out a little bit more as he's fighting. It's just a little bit more technical ability than than Jose Ramirez. Jose Ramirez at times can be very sloppy. He could be very all over the place. He could be very, very kind of up and down with his boxing technique, thus kind of making him a little vulnerable and not necessarily having the best, thus making him not very technically sound. You know what I'm saying? As far as the intangibles are concerned, both these dudes, man, they usually come in on weight. They, both of them are undefeated. They both got that mindset where they come in a dog bitch. So, I see both of them kind of like coming in like this should be a really good fight in that aspect. Nobody's coming up or down in weight. Both of these guys, for the most part, campaigned at 140 pounds. I believe Jose Ramirez might have moved up. I'm not sure. He might have moved up from another weight class, but he had enough fights. If he did, he had enough fights at 140 pounds to where it's cool. That's not even an issue. It's two guys at 140 pounds fighting for supremacy. So there's no real intangibles. You know what I'm saying? As far as my prediction, man, now let's dive into the prediction. Let's get to the fun shit. You know what I'm saying? As far as my prediction is concerned, I feel like if this fight goes 12, which there's a good chance of it going 12, Josh Taylor is probably gonna win, but not by much. It would be a very slim margin on the scorecards. But I could see Jose Ramirez winning too, because Jose Ramirez is not gonna make Josh Taylor is going to be very uncomfortable during this fight because Jose Ramirez is going to be coming in. And I don't necessarily feel like now that I think I'm going to change my prediction. I think I may have Jose Ramirez actually winning a 12-round decision, man. Because I feel like Jose Ramirez is going to make Josh Taylor very uncomfortable during that fight, man. And I feel like Jose Ramirez is going to hurt him a few times throughout the course. I don't feel like Josh Taylor has the skills needed in order to keep Jose Ramirez on the defensive. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel like Josh Taylor has that level of skill to be able to keep Jose Ramirez off of him. So I actually think Jose Ramirez, man, I'm changing my prediction because ultimately I thought that Josh Taylor would win, but now I'm more kind of leaning towards Jose Ramirez. You know what I'm saying? I like Jose Ramirez wins better than I like Josh Taylor's wins. You know what I'm saying? So I like his experience a little bit better. I feel like Jose Ramirez probably has the better power. That was one thing we forgot to talk about, power. I think Jose Ramirez has better power. I think Jose Ramirez, actually, and there is an intangible as well. To me, Jose Ramirez is going to be one of those dudes who has that dog in him. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be coming. You know, he's very Sean Porterish with his style. You know what I'm saying? So he's going to be looking to close the gap, and he's going to be looking to beat Josh Taylor to fuck up, man. But ultimately, I don't feel like anybody going to get knocked out during this fight. But I feel like Jose Ramirez is going to outwork Josh Taylor, thus making it a very tough night for him. I don't think Josh Taylor has the necessary skills to be able to keep Jose Ramirez off of him. You know what I'm saying? I don't think so. I mean, I could be wrong, but I just don't think so. Ultimately, I think this is probably like a 60-40 fight. I'll go 60-40 Jose Ramirez. Ramirez with maybe a late stoppage or 12-round unanimous decision. That's what I'm rocking with. That's my prediction for that fight. You know what I'm saying? That's my prediction for that fight. You know, Josh Taylor has a better technical skills. He has a better hand speed, a better boxing IQ, but not by much. All of the categories that Josh Taylor leads in, it's not by much because Jose Ramirez is pretty decent in those areas as well. To me, the difference in this fight is going to be Jose Ramirez's will to win, is going to be his pressure that he's going to put on Josh Taylor. And I don't know that Josh Taylor has the skills to be able to keep Jose Ramirez off of him. I feel like Jose Ramirez is going to make the fight, and Jose Ramirez is going to outwork him, ultimately, possibly stopping him, maybe, and then possibly winning a 12-round unanimous decision. This is crazy because a lot of people have Josh Taylor actually winning. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to be one of the contrarians and say that Jose Ramirez is actually going to win the fight. So, you know what I'm saying? Whoever watching this shit, I know you're going to come back on here. You're going to talk some shit if Josh Taylor end up pulling one out. But I'm not saying that Josh Taylor going to get his ass whooped or anything like that. I just feel like he's probably going to get outworked. Thus, you know what I'm saying? And it's a 60-40 fight. He still has a good chance to win. You know what I mean? If he could surprise me and kind of be able to stay on his back foot and kind of keep Jose Ramirez off of him and do what he does best, use different skills in different spots, you know what I'm saying? But ultimately, I think Jose Ramirez is going to win the fight. On to the next one, man. On to the next one. So this is a fight. It's not quite in the books as of yet. But there's a lot of people saying that it's a done deal. Granted, that means shit to me, that it's a done deal, you know what I'm saying? But, I feel like this fight is done. I feel like this is probably going to happen. Thus, I'm going to go ahead and break this shit down. Okay, and that's Tank Davis versus Mario Barrio. So first of all, man, when it comes to this fight, I actually want to talk about how we're going to break it down, but this is actually a really, really good fight. Mario Barrios isn't really somebody who I spend a lot of time watching and stuff like that. So I actually took some time today and yesterday to just kind of like watch some of his fights, you know what I'm saying, and really kind of get a better understanding of the way he fights and that sort of thing. But ultimately, man, Mario Barrios is a really good fight. His skills are, his style is pretty comparable to how Tank's style is. You know what I'm saying? Mario Barrios is one of those dudes who kind of waits to counterpunch. He waits for you to make mistakes, and then maybe he'll flurry a little bit, you know what I'm saying, or he'll try to catch you up in those exchanges and hurt you that way. Mario Barrios is one of them type of dudes. So, that's pretty much Mario Barrio in a nutshell. He does kind of he goes to the body a lot. Um, um, Similar to Tank. He likes to counter, or he waits to counter, similar to Tank. The only really big difference between Mario Barrios and Tank's style is the fact that Tank moves his head a lot more than Mario Barrios. Mario Barrios can be very stiff at times and lead with his head straight up in the air, and thus kind of making it very dangerous for him to fight somebody like a Tank Davis. You know what I'm saying? The fact that your chin is up in the air like that and you tend to stand straight up, at times Mario Barrio stands straight because he's a really tall dude. He's fighting at 140 pounds and he's like 5'10, 5'10, 5'11, some shit like that. So he stands like real tall up in the air with his chin up in the air, kind of like Ryan Garcia a little bit. And when you fight somebody like Tank, somebody with monstrous power, that's a recipe to get hurt. You know what I'm saying? So I could see. And the other thing is Mario Barrios, his foot speed isn't that great. You know what I'm saying? So he can't really move around the ring too much, and he can't really, his footwork is a little, it's a little lackluster. You know what I'm saying? So fighting somebody like Tank who has really good foot speed, a really good jab, you know what I'm saying? And really awesome power, Mario Barrios may get hurt. Now, this is a good fight though, because Mario Barrios has, he's a solid fighter. I'll call him a solid fighter. I don't think he has like good power like that or whatever, but he's a solid fighter. But ultimately, hold on, but we jumping ahead of though. That's my analysis of their styles. You know what I'm saying? That's my analysis of their styles. To me, they have the same style. They're both like counter punchers, dudes who wait, who wait to throw shots. They're not really active or anything like that, punching, that sort of thing. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Tank versus Mario Barrio. So let's go ahead and break this shit down. Now that I broke down the styles, and pretty much this is a good fucking fight. I think the speed goes to Tank hands down. Tank is going to be coming in there from a lower weight class, and usually people that's fighting at lower weight classes, they're just naturally faster, coming up in weight. They're used to fighting faster guys. They're used to moving faster, so they're going to be faster. Tank's going to have the faster feet. He's going to have the faster hands. He's overall going to be faster. I also think the boxing IQ is also going to go to Tank. Tank is very savvy in the ring. He's able to adjust, make Mayweather-like adjustments. Not as good as other fighters right now, but definitely up there. Definitely elite level adjustments. And to me, that's what equates to IQ. So Tank is able to do that, which makes Tank a league above Mario Barrios in that aspect. The experience also goes to Tank. Tank has some much better names on his resume than Mario Barrios, Leo Santa Cruz, other fighters like that, man, who are really good boxers. Tank has that. So Tank's going to be coming in there with the better experience. Tank also has the better boxing skills. The technical boxing skills are also going to go to Tank. You know what I'm saying? Because Tank has the better overall boxing skills. He has the better jab. He throws the harder, he throws the more technically sound punches. You know what I'm saying? He has the better defense. He has a better offense. He has a better footwork. We're not talking about foot speed. We're just talking about footwork. There's just a lot of things that Tank does better, thus making him the more technically sound fighter. You know what I'm saying? So technically, we're giving it to Tank. And then there's the intangibles. So the intangibles in this particular situation is Tank will be going up 2 weight divisions to fight this dude, Mario Barrios, which we've seen fighters go up 2 weight divisions to fight other fighters in the past and it not working out so goddamn well. I think in this particular case, it may be a little bit different because we're not seeing we're not seeing a really great fighter going up and fighting we're not seeing a really great little guy versus a great big guy. We're really seeing a really great little guy versus a pretty good big guy. You know what I'm saying? Thus kind of closing that gap and making this more of an entertaining fight than say a lot of the fights that we've seen before in the past, where dudes go up 2 weight divisions and things like that. You know what I mean? So the tangible wise, you know, that's that. I think Tank. This is what a lot of people miss. I think Tank going up 2 weight divisions is probably going to be better for him. We've seen that Tank has had weight issues before in the past. Um, Missing weight for fights, losing his belt on a scale and stuff like that. So for him to now be trying to make 140 as opposed to 135, I think it'll be a little easier on him, and he'll have a stronger camp, thus being a stronger fighter in the ring. So we're probably going to see the best Tank that we've ever seen at 140 pounds, you know, realistically. So that's as far as the intangibles go. And of course, Tank has the power, hands down. So ultimately, in this particular fight with Mario Barrios, Tank leads in every category except maybe the intangibles, where he's going up 2 weight divisions. So ultimately, I feel like Tank is actually going to stop Mario Barrios, and a lot of people going to be crazy. You know, going to be looking at me crazy, and that's cool. That's cool because Tank is going up 2 weight divisions, and it does seem like it's a little bit crazy. But ultimately, when you look at this shit on paper, when you really sit down and do the fucking math, you make the computations, you say, oh, 1+1 is 2. I think most people will surmise afterwards that Tank is probably going to win this fight. I think ultimately he's going to stop Barrios maybe in the 7th, maybe 8th round. You know what I'm saying? He's going to catch Barrios slipping and put him down for good. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, it's going to be a really good fight because while Barrios is in there, he's not going to be laying down. He's not going to be sleepy. He's going to be coming in there to fight. You know what I'm saying? And that's going to make for a very entertaining fight between Mario Barrios and Tank Davis. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that smoke. You know what I'm saying? It should be a good one if it happens, because we still don't know if that motherfucker going to happen. You know what I'm saying? I really think Tank, you know, I think Tank should go back the Ryan Garcia route, you know, because the Ryan Garcia route really means more to the division. It really means more to Tank's career than, say, a Barrios. Well, Barrios will be the overall better career move because it is for a belt. But Ryan Garcia would probably be the bigger move as far as boxing is concerned. That would be a big fight. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, that's where I'm at with that, man. That's where I'm at with that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But let's move on to the next goddamn fight, man. And that's gonna be Demetrius Andrade versus Liam Williams. So here's the thing, man. Originally, when I found out that Demetrius Andrade was gonna be fighting a Liam, you know what I'm saying? Because we all know, like, you got the Liams, you know. I don't you got the Liams, and you don't really take the Liams too seriously. But when I went back, I did a little bit of research, and I watched some of Liam Williams fights. And Liam Williams is actually a very solid dude. Just let's go ahead and analyze his and Andrade's style. So Liam Williams is one of those guys. He's a come forward kind of guy. He's one of those guys who has a pretty good jab. He uses his jab a lot. He uses it 1, 2, and 3 times sometimes in a row. He doubles it and even triples it up, which is good. He likes to go to the body, and he likes to put a lot of pressure on his opponents. You know, he goes straight forward, you know, kind of Ricky Hatton-esque in a way. You know what I'm saying? But he doesn't smother his punches as much. But Liam Williams is a pretty solid dude ultimately, and I think that the fight with him and Andrade will be a good one. But back to analyzing the style, that's how I kind of analyze Liam Williams. He's kind of like a pressure guy. He's gonna pressure his opponents. He's going to put a lot of he's gonna throw a lot of punches. He's gonna be very active. And he's pretty decent at parrying punches and throwing little counter punches here and there. His skills are pretty decent overall, but ultimately he's just one of those pressure guys. Andrade, on the other hand, we know Andrade's style. Andrade can pretty much do everything well. Southpaw, you know what I'm saying? He's a natural counter puncher, but he also throws punches in bunches, 2 of the things that everybody hates, you know what I'm saying? And then in addition to that, Andrade has crazy footwork, amazing speed, you know what I'm saying, and a ring IQ that really makes people want to commit suicide. You know what I mean? So that's how Andrade kind of gets down. rangy. He's able to control distance very well. So Andrade, just the amount of skills that he has is just on another level. But ultimately, I feel like this is gonna be a good fight. I wasn't thrilled about it at first when I heard about this shit, but now I'm a little excited about it after watching some of Liam Williams's most recent fight. He fought a lot of bums coming up. But ultimately, I think he's a pretty solid dude, and he's gonna come to fight. I don't think he's gonna lay down. But I do feel like after about round 3, well, I'm skipping ahead a little. I'm skipping ahead a little bit. But let's go ahead and break this motherfucker down. Let's break this shit down. So now that I analyze the styles, so Demetrius Andrade has the faster hands, faster feet. We can go all the way down the list as far as speed is concerned. Andrade has the better IQ. He has the better experience. He has the better technical skills. The intangibles, as far as the intangibles are concerned, I think the worst thing you could possibly say about Andrade is maybe he's not as active as you would want him to be. And Liam Williams is pretty active. They go on that bum tour and they just start fighting whoever and whenever. That's probably the one thing that you could say. Andrade's last fight, I believe, was the beginning of last year. I'm not 100% sure about that. But yeah, I think that's probably the one thing that you could say. And both of them always come in shape. Nobody's going up or down in weight, anything like that. Nothing crazy. Nobody's coming off of a loss. Everybody's coming off of a few wins strung together. And ultimately, there's nothing really to be concerned about with either fighter in both fights. Actually, I take that back. There is one thing. Andrade, in an interview, he said something like he hasn't been training or he hasn't been working out or anything like that. And he was like upwards of 200 pounds. I remember him saying something like that. I don't know if that motherfucker's true, because Andrade comes off to me like one of those gym rats. One of them dudes that's just always in the gym, regardless. Like you go there in the morning, he's there. You leave in the night, he's still there. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And then you maybe one of those days you go to the gym and you're there before the gym actually opens, and Andrade is outside waiting for the gym to open. Andrade seemed like one of those type of dudes to me. So I don't really necessarily believe that he hasn't been training and hasn't been in the gym. He's been inactive, but that doesn't mean that you're out of shape or anything like that. But according to a recent interview, he did say something like this. So we got to take the man at face value and kind of surmise that maybe that is indeed the case. So if that is the case, he hasn't been in the gym, so he's probably going to have to lose some weight. He's probably going to have to get back into fighting shape. And Liam Williams is one of those dudes who's actually going to make you work because of how active he is. He's going to be putting a lot of pressure on Andrade very early in the fight. So Andrade's going to need to be in pretty good shape in order to keep Liam Williams off of him. And I know it sounds crazy, a dude like named Liam Williams giving Andrade any type of issues. But I mean, it is possible. Liam Williams is pretty solid. You know what I'm saying? Shit. If you would have asked me that a few weeks ago, I'd have been like, what? Nah, fuck out of here. But watch a few of Liam Williams fight, and you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll see that the dude is pretty solid. He's pretty, straightforward, straight up and down with it. But ultimately, he's high energy. He throws a lot of punches, and a lot of punches is always going to make for a very, tough fight for a lot of people. I don't think Andrade is going to be one of those people, but it's all, if you come in with the wrong mindset, you can kind of get messed up in a situation with somebody who's throwing a lot of punches like that. You know what I'm saying? That's where I'm at with it. Yeah. But yes, sir. Let's move on to the next fight. Actually, I'm sorry, I didn't get my predictions. I'm pretty sure my predictions are pretty obvious. You know what I'm saying? Amadis in the building, man. Shout out to you, Amadis. Right now I'm breaking down Andrade versus Liam Williams. I'm breaking down Andrade versus Liam Williams. What you think about that, Amadis? it's pretty obvious what you think. I'm sure you know Andrade is going to do what he do to Liam Williams, but I was actually breaking down the fight. I actually think it's going to be a pretty good fight, Liam Williams versus Demetrius Andrade. I don't know if you watched any of Liam Williams's past fights, but he's a pretty active, tough guy. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he's gonna come in there and lay down like a lot of the people Andrade gets in the ring with. Um, um, yeah, I don't think he's gonna come in there and lay down. I think it's gonna be a pretty solid fight. You know what I mean? So I'm actually excited to see Andre versus Liam Williams. I think it's gonna be a good fight. Let me get my predictions. You know what I'm saying? And if y'all got some comments about it, y'all get your comments about it. As far as Andrade and Liam Williams, I think Andrade leads in pretty much every category there is to lead on. Andrade by unanimous decision, and that's pretty much what I was thinking too. You know, I was going towards that or late stoppage. Andrade leads in pretty much every category, and I break things down by category, Amadis. You know what I'm saying? I break it down by category: speed, IQ, power, experience, technical skills, intangibles, stuff like that. I think ultimately Andrade leads in pretty much every category, and he's going to pretty much beat Liam Williams up. Black Gold says number 3. Shout out to you, Black Gold, in the building. Liam Williams is going to give pressure all night. He is going to give pressure. Here's the thing. My first time watching Liam Williams was like last week. I didn't, when I found out that the fight was actually going to happen, I was like, oh snap! Well, Liam Williams might actually be a threat. He's going to be he's going to be coming to fight. He's going to be bringing the fight to Andrade. And we all know that the best fights are the pressure fighters against the boxers. You know what I'm saying? The pressure fighters against the boxers always make for the most entertaining fights. Liam Williams is going to be looking to pressure Andrade. And that, first of all, that's how you fight somebody like Andrade, because you're not going to outbox him. You're not going to outbox him. You're not going to outpoint him. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to out counter him. You know, that's why somebody like Canelo would have a whole lot of problems against Demetrius Andrade. That's why people like Billy Joe is going to have issues against Andrade. But the way you fight Andrade is to fight him. You know what I'm saying? Is to bring the fight to him, to throw a lot of punches, you know what I'm saying? To close the gap, close the distance, to try to trap him in the corner. That's how you beat somebody like Andrade. Do I think Liam Williams is skilled enough to beat Andrade? Fuck no. But I feel like this is going to be a very entertaining fight, and I feel like Liam Williams is probably going to get closer than anybody else has to beating Andrade. You know what I'm saying? 155%. That's where I'm at with it. Liam Williams is going to get pressure all night. He is. You know. But again, Andrade is going to give Liam Williams angles. He's going to throw a lot of punches at him. He's going to counter him a lot, which is going to make Liam lower his work rate down to a slower pace, a more suitable pace for Andrade based on the amount of counters he's going to get hit with, and the angles. And he's going to be using the footwork. He's going to be keeping Liam Williams off balance, because Liam Williams needs to throw punches in a straight line. And Andrade isn't going to be in that straight line for Liam Williams for him to throw his flurries and his punches. So it's going to be very hard for him to get off. You know what I'm saying? And he's going to be getting popped by jabs all night. And he's going to be getting peppered and flurried all night with ones and twos. And he's going to be probably getting hit in the body and all kinds of other different shit. So it's going to be a real, it's going to be a really good fight, because ultimately Liam Williams' mentality is to come forward and to fight like that. But Andrade is going to win. Andrade is going to break him down, and Andrade is either going to stop him or win a 12-round unanimous decision, just like my man Black Gold number 3 said. All right. But I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next goddamn fight, man. I'm going to move on to the next fight. This fight was recently just confirmed. And I think it's going to be a pretty good fight, man. And, that's Gary Russell versus, what's this dude's name, man? I wrote this dude, Ray Vargas. Gary Russell and Ray Vargas. That's the next fight we're going to break down, man. That's the next fight we're going to break down. The Gary Russell and Ray Vargas. Apparently that has final. That's final. Or that's in the books. That's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Gary Russell, I got issues with, man. I got issues. I got a lot of issues with Gary Russell. A lot. Amadis says, my sentiments exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself. Appreciate that, Amadis. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I took some time to watch some Liam Williams fights. You know what I'm saying? I took some time to actually watch them. And he's actually a solid guy. So I'm excited about this fight. The fight's going to be in Miami, man. I'm from Miami, so I might have to go home and watch and go to the fight myself, watch Andrade and Liam Williams, because I think it's going to be pretty entertaining. And I think that's a lot of fight. That's a fight that a lot of people are going to be sleeping on. I don't think a lot of people are up on how good that fight is actually going to be. They feel like it's going to be a whitewash by Andrade, which it will be. But while the fight is happening, it's going to be entertaining because Liam Williams is coming to fight. Gary Russell is Al Heyman's. Black Gold number 3 says, Gary Russell is Al Heyman's stepchild. Oh, man. Gary Russell, man. I honestly, Gary puts himself in these situations, man. The dude fights like once every 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Once every 2 years. And in that whole situation with Devin Haney, man, I can't get that out of my mind. That whole situation gives me a bad taste in my mouth when it comes to Gary Russell. I can't look at Gary the same after that whole Devin Haney situation. Amada says, right, so the whole narrative Bud should have went to PBC is nonsense when their own fighters can't get fights. Amada, I'm going to do a whole live about this whole promotional nonsense thing that people keep talking about. Because there's this whole thing out there where people feel like, well, Bud should have went to PBC. Why didn't he go to PBC? He's making bad business moves. How you know what type of business moves this man is making? You basing that on the fights that aren't happening, even though there are fights over on PBC side where both fighters are on PBC, is not happening. Keith Thurman and Earl Spence still hasn't happened. You know what I'm saying? There are fights over on Top Rank. Fighters are on Top Rank stable. Those fights aren't happening. You know what I'm saying? Black Gold number 3 says all fighters fight once or twice if we get lucky. Yeah, once or twice every like 2 years, maybe. Once every 2 years. Because really it'd be like, it's like they wait on that 2-year mark. They be like, it's been a year and 5 months. Let me get back in the ring. It's really goofy like that. You know what I'm saying? Once or twice a year. And Gary is super bad with it. Gary is super bad with the amount of fights that he fights. He's very inactive. Very inactive. Gary Russell and Ray Vargas is what he cooked up for us. But we could have saw, and this Ray Vargas fight is a good fight. Okay, I'm not knocking Ray Vargas. This Ray Vargas fight is a good fight. Even though Ray Vargas is a 122-pounder, okay? This Ray Vargas fight is a good fight. But we could have got Gary Russell versus Devin Haney. I'm never going to forget that shit. We're going to be in 2030. I'm going to be bringing that shit up. We're going to be in 2045. I'm going to be talking about how Gary Russell and Devin Haney could have happened, but didn't happen because Gary Russell said the paperwork wasn't right. Even though you could easily correct that shit. Hey, this is not right. Fix this. And that's how negotiations take place. Paperwork getting right. You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, this is where we are now. Gary Russell, Ray Vargas is a done deal. And I actually think this is a good fight. I actually think that this is a pretty good fight. Ray Vargas is the epitome of what you would call Mexican style. You know what I'm saying? He's the epitome of what you would call Mexican style. But he's high level with it. Just to start analyzing both fighters. He's high level with the Mexican styles because he's physically in great condition. He throws a lot of punches. He actually gives you some angles. It looks like he has pretty good power. And, you know, And he's really, really tall and long at the same time, too. Now, of course, just like most Mexicans that are tall and long, they don't really use that. You know, they fight on the inside. They let all that height and reach go to waste. Um, but Ray Vargas is a pretty solid, a really good opponent for Gary Russell. I think that's going to be a really good fight. And then we know Gary Russell is also somebody. He throws a lot of punches. He gives angles. Um, you know, he's one of those guys who's going to use a little bit of footwork here and there. He's going to get busy. We know Gary is going to get busy. So this is going to be a really good fight. Amada says, it's a good fight. I expect Gary to outbox him with cleaner shots, get the decision. Yeah, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but that sounds like a really good assessment of it, Amadas. Gary is just maybe one step ahead of Vargas as far as all these attributes are concerned, but we're going to go down through them. I ultimately feel like they have a pretty similar style because Gary isn't really like super slick, but he does have slick like kind of qualities. You know what I'm saying? He moves his head a little bit. He can kind of get in and get out, but he doesn't really fight like that. He throws a lot of punches. You know, he throws a lot of punches. He's very, very fast with his hands. You know what I'm saying? And he gives more angles, you know what I'm saying, than Ray Vargas. But yeah, let's go ahead and break this motherfucker down though. But those are the styles. I label Gary as more of like a punches and bunches kind of slick counter puncher, and then I label Ray Vargas as Mexican style. So one of them dudes who puts his head down, but also kind of like Santa Cruz, kind of skilled and kind of gives angles and does little things here and there in order to kind of make it a fight. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a ballroom brawl with Ray Vargas. He's coming in there to brawl. You know what I'm saying? So it should be a good fight. Let's break this shit down though. As far as the speed is concerned, I think everybody will agree Gary's faster, both with his feet and with his hands. I think Gary has the better boxing IQ. Gary has the better experience. Gary has the better technical skills. As far as intangibles are concerned, I'm not sure what weight the fight is going to be at. I don't know if Ray Vargas is going to be moving up to moving up in weight, or if they're going to be fighting, you know what I'm saying, at a lower weight. I don't know how that's going to go. So as far as the intangibles are concerned, I'm not so sure about that. But both fighters are pretty well conditioned. Gary's been out of the ring for about 2 years now. You know what I'm saying? There's something we can definitely talk about. And that ring rust is going to bite him in the ass one day. And this might be the day. That ring rust is going to bite Gary in the ass one day. Because he's choosing to fight once every 2 years. He's choosing to fight once every 2 years. So that all that time he's out of the ring. You know what I'm saying? Ray Vargas, on the other hand, I think Ray Vargas has kind of been out of the ring equally as long of a time as Gary. But it's like, I believe Ray Vargas is the younger guy. Ray Vargas is a little younger than Gary. Gary's in his 30s now. When you start getting up in them 30s, you're not as quick to recover and as quick to get your stamina back as you was in your 20s. Shit ain't really turning on and off like that when you hit them 30s. You know what I'm saying? So Gary, with all these little layoffs here and there, may bite him in the ass in this fight. Gary is leading over Ray Vargas in pretty much every category except power. Ray Vargas has the power. Ray Vargas has a puncher's chance against Gary. You know what I mean? But ultimately, Gary's the faster, better IQ, more experienced, more technical, you know what I'm saying, and fighter than Ray Vargas. Ultimately, he has all those intangibles over Ray Vargas. So it's like Gary should win this fight. He should win this fight. But it's something about the way Gary goes about his career that leads me to believe that he's probably going to lose. So that brings me into my prediction. That brings me to my prediction. All right. I think that if the fight gets stopped, Ray Vargas will stop Gary. Ray Vargas will stop Gary late, probably around 8, 9. Ray will stop him. If the fight goes 12, I think Ray Vargas will also win a 12-round decision. Overall, Gary's the better technical fighter. So in this fight, Gary's going to have to be slick. Okay? He's going to have to be more slick than more quantity. We need more quality than quantity from Gary in this particular fight, because Ray throws a lot of punches as well. We see what happened with Gary when he fought Lomachenko. Lomachenko threw a lot of punches, and that made it a very rough night for Gary. Lomachenko gave Gary a lot of work, a lot of punches with a lot of angles, and Ray Vargas is going to throw a lot of punches, not with the same angles as a Lomachenko, of course, but the volume is going to be very high. The volume is going to be very high. And one thing about Gary Russell is if he's getting hit, Gary doesn't really punch back. Gary doesn't really punch back if he's getting hit. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to say that this is a 60-40 fight in Gary Russell's favor, simply because he's the better technical fighter. And if he's able to use his technical skills, he should be able to outbox Ray Vargas. But I think Ray Vargas has a legitimate chance of beating Gary Russell, or should I say upsetting Gary Russell, simply because of his inactivity and the fact that Gary doesn't really punch when he gets hit. He doesn't really punch when he gets hit. He gets really low with his work rate at times. And he's not that slick. At times I see him with his chin straight up in the air, standing straight up. So that should be a very interesting fight. A very, very, very interesting fight based on what I've seen for Ray. Y'all go look at Ray Vargas fights, man. Ray Vargas is not no joke. The only thing about Ray Vargas is he's going to be coming up in weight. So maybe the power isn't going to be there. In order to stop Gary, the power might not be there. But Gary's going to get caught with some good shots. He's going to get hit a lot. And Ray Vargas is going to have the ability to outwork Gary. He's going to have the energy to outwork him. You know what I'm saying? And he's also going to have he's also going to come with a little bit of power too. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately Gary could get outworked. But ultimately Gary should win this fight. He's fighting somebody coming up in weight. So usually when that happens, he's going to have a higher punch resistance, thus making him able to take more shots and stuff like that. And enabling him to be able to not really fear that. When you gotta think about the fact that you may get knocked the fuck out, like somebody touches you one time and you might get knocked out, that makes you fight a little bit different. So I don't think Gary is gonna be fighting with that chip on his shoulder necessarily. You know what I'm saying? So that should make him more effective in the fight, and able to kind of, cruise to a unanimous decision. But like I said, anything could happen in this fight because Gary hasn't fought and I don't even know how long. Okay. He could get outworked because Ray Vargas throws a lot of punches. Okay. And there's still a possibility of him getting knocked out. You know what I'm saying? Ultimately. But I think Gary should win this fight. But let's go ahead and move on to the next fight, man. Let's move on to the next fight. And that is Canelo versus Billy Joe. Canelo versus Billy Joe is the next fight, man. I think we know. I think most of us know. Well, most of us feel like there's a pretty good chance of Canelo and Billy Joe actually happening. I think most of us feel that way. That Canelo and Billy Joe more than likely will happen. You know what I'm saying? And I think that this is a pretty good fight, Canelo and Billy Joe. I think it's a pretty good fight. I think it would have been a much better fight a few years ago after we saw Billy Joe fight David Lemieux. But ultimately, I think that it's a really good fight, a nice contrast in style. A nice contrast in style, Canelo and Billy Joe Saunders. Billy Joe Saunders, just to break down the styles, Billy Joe Saunders is one of those dudes who, at his peak, he's kind of able to fight on his back foot and be slick and throw jabs and really kind of maneuver his way around his opponents without getting hit, but still able to kind of hit, stick and move and things like that. At his peak. Recently in Billy Joe fights, we haven't really seen him be able to use the same amount of slickness that we saw before in the past. And I'm not sure if that's attributed to the fact that he wasn't as motivated going into those fights, which could be because those weren't necessarily fights that anyone would per se be motivated to fight. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, Billy Joe did not perform at the level that I think most fans expected him to perform in his last few fights. You know what I'm saying? So the question coming into this fight is going to be, are we going to get Billy Joe from a few years ago, or are we going to get this Billy Joe that was in the last fight? Okay. Swift Sloan, shout out to you, my boy. Swift Sloan says Billy hasn't looked the same since he popped dirty. Oh yeah, absolutely. Billy Joe tested positive for, you know what I'm saying? And all of a sudden he doesn't have the same amount of skills that he had before. But I mean, ultimately, it's not like Billy Joe was one of those dudes. And you're right, Swift. You're right, Swift. It's not like Billy Joe was one of those dudes who was knocking people out and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, he has boxing skills, but maybe he doesn't necessarily have the conditioning to be able to do, because of the reduction in drugs. You know, he doesn't necessarily have the conditioning to be able to do what he did before in the past. You know what I'm saying? But that aside, Billy has the skills, because we've seen him before. Billy has the skills to be able to give somebody like Canelo trouble. You know what I'm saying? And just to talk about Canelo really quickly, Canelo's virtually a counterpuncher. You know what I'm saying? That's really what he likes to do. That's really how he hurts a lot of his opponents and stops them, is usually via some sort of counterpunch. You know, he likes to wait. And that's why he kind of likes fighting people who have a good work rate, not a strong work rate, but a good work rate, so he can kind of catch them up in there with a counterpunch and hurt them somewhere. But ultimately, Canelo's kind of gotten kind of good at cutting the ring off and, you know, throwing body shots, and kind of like his work rate has gone up over the last few years. So he doesn't necessarily need to rely on his counterpunching ability. But ultimately, Canelo is a counterpuncher. You know what I'm saying? So to me, Billy Joe and Canelo Alvarez is actually a very good contrast in styles, because you virtually have a counterpuncher slash dude who's going to give you a good work rate versus a slick fighter who's going to kind of be trying to fight on their back foot and do things like that and kind of outplay them that way. So it should be a really interesting fight, because we know that Canelo has had problems with people like this in the past, a la Erislandy Lara, a la Austin Trout, a la a few, you know, Mayweather, you know what I'm saying? So it should be really interesting to see what this fight's like. But let's go ahead and break down the intangibles. Let's see what this fight actually looks like on paper. You know what I'm saying? So the speed, to me, Billy Joe has the faster feet, but Canelo has the faster hands. You know what I'm saying? Billy Joe, at his peak, can move his feet pretty well. That's his style. Most slick fighters move their feet. Billy moves his feet. Thus, his feet, he has a better foot speed than Canelo. But Canelo has the faster hands. Canelo's able to put those combinations together at a lightning fast speed. You know what I'm saying? So I will give him the faster hands. As far as the IQ, I would actually, this is going to be an interesting one because usually I give the slicker fighter the better boxing IQ. Usually I feel like the slick fighter has the better IQ, but in this particular case, I feel like Canelo has the better IQ, because Canelo has kind of, because of his experience, he's seen more and kind of able to adjust a little bit better. You know what I'm saying? Um, thus, and the adjustments is really what I equate to the IQ. So I think that ultimately, Canelo probably has the better boxing IQ because I think that he's able to adapt a little bit better than Billy Joe. I think Billy Joe is going to be a little, um, he's going to be a little like stubborn, a little bullheaded with his approach to the fight. I've never really seen him have to like adjust in any fight before, and I've seen Canelo make a few adjustments. So I'm going to say Canelo has a better IQ. Canelo, of course, has the better experience. I think technically, Billy Joe is probably better. Technically, you know what I'm saying? My preference is always slick fighters, and Billy Joe is the slick fighter. So technically, I'm gonna say that he's probably a little bit better. The way he throws his jabs, his hooks, the way he moves around the ring, the way he's able to duck and dodge and get out of the way, parry punches, things like that. I'm gonna say that Billy Joe is a better technical fighter, and intangibly, Canelo probably has. They're probably pretty much equal outside of the fact that Billy Joe has, well, the intangibles, hold on, there is a big intangible here because Billy Joe has been sitting on the sideline scratching his ass the whole time while Canelo has been active. So that's going to be something that's going to be really working against Billy Joe in their fight. The fact that he's been sitting on his ass the whole time and not fighting, Canelo's been active. That activity is a really big thing. You know what I'm saying? Activity is a really big thing in boxing. If you're not fighting, you're going to find yourself fucked up. You're going to find yourself fucked up. Amada says, yeah, that's true. Absolutely. If you're not fighting, if you fight, Amada says, nasal spray Billy is tough. Nasal spray Billy. Nasal spray Billy is tough. He's a tough fighter. 2 years ago, this would have been a much better fight. However, that said, it's still a good fight. Billy Joe still has the skills to be able to beat somebody like a Canelo Alvarez. He still has the skills to be able to do that. You know what I'm saying? Will he do it? Will we see the version of Billy Joe that will be able to do it? That's the question. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like if he doesn't do it, he's going to lose and badly. But he doesn't necessarily win doing that because to me, he's not necessarily slick enough to have an overwhelming victory over somebody like a Canelo Alvarez. You know what I'm saying? He's slick enough to be able to win a fight, but he's not slick enough to be able to win a fight, if you get what I'm trying to say. And that's like a Canelo decision. You know what I'm saying? You got to beat Canelo to beat Canelo. And I don't necessarily know that Billy Joe, even at his peak, would have been able to beat somebody like a Canelo Alvarez. I don't know that he would have ever been able to do that. But fighting the way that he's been fighting in the last few fights, the odds aren't great for Billy Joe Saunders. You know what I'm saying? The odds really aren't great for Billy Joe if he fights the way he fought in his last few fights. You know? It'll be tough though. It'll be tough. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. And then there's the power. I think Canelo by far has the better power. You know, we've seen Canelo knocking people out. We haven't necessarily gotten that same kind of energy from Billy Joe. So I think we can give Canelo the edge when it comes to power. But ultimately, on paper, This is a pretty good fight. This is a pretty good fight. Black Gold number 3 says nobody is gonna get a decision against Canelo. Nobody at all. Facts. Yeah, man. You got to beat Canelo ass. You got to really put an ass whooping on Canelo to have any hope of trying to get a decision versus Canelo. And the only people, in my opinion, who are going to be able to put a good enough ass whooping on Canelo in order to get some sort of decision are Demetrius, Andrade, possibly Jermall Charlo, because Jermall Charlo could hurt him. David Benavidez will probably be able to outwork him to the point where he'll be able to get a decision versus Canelo Alvarez. The top guys, you know, pretty much the dudes that Canelo doesn't want to fight. Those are going to be the only dudes who's going to be able to put enough of an ass whooping on Canelo in order to get any kind of decision, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be tough for anyone else. It's going to be tough for Billy Joe. I think Billy Joe, if he comes in with the right mindset and the right game plan, he could actually beat Canelo, meaning he could beat him. Do I think he's going to win? No. So this is how I feel like the fight is going to go, ultimately. This is my prediction for the fight. I think that this is going to be a 12-round unanimous decision for Canelo Alvarez. I feel like the fight is going to look a little like it's going to look like Billy Joe. It's going to look I think Billy Joe's going to look a little bit like Lara. He's going to look a little bit like Lara, but not the same level of skills, but the same type of fight. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I feel like it's going to be the same type of fight, like a Lara fight. But ultimately, Billy Joe's going to lose. You know what I'm saying? And of course, that's if the fight happens, because you know what I'm saying? I think there's they have a date. You know what I'm saying? There is a date. I think Cinco de Mayo. That's when this fight is supposed to happen. You know, that's when they say it's supposed to happen. Well, I don't really believe none of this shit that I be hearing these days, man. Who the fuck really believes any of this shit? You know what I'm saying? All we hear in boxing news is terms agreed, fight done. And then we don't hear nothing about the fight ever being announced, nothing about any venue, nothing about anything after that. So who knows? I mean, but I say ultimately there's probably a pretty good chance that the fight is actually going to happen. But, you know, if the fight actually happens, I think that it should be a good, strong fight. And the type of fight that it will be like Canelo versus Lara, where Canelo's looking to cut the ring off, looking to go to the body, and Lara's fighting off his back foot, moving. I think the fight's going to look like that. I think we're going to see the best version of Billy Joe in this fight. I don't think he's going to lay down like your Dirham. I don't think he's going to lay down like that. I think we're going to see the best version of Billy Joe. I think it's going to be a really good fight, ultimately. And I think that, you know, I don't think they should put that on pay-per-view, though, man. You know, of course they will. It'll be DAZN or you know, subscription or whatever. But, you know, I just think it's going to be a really good fight, you know, and that's really it. You know what I'm saying? That's really about it. But those are my fights, man. Those are the fights I wanted to go through today, man. Break these bitches down. I gave y'all my predictions on all of these fucking fights, man. What do y'all think is out of the fights I went through, or if you got any of your own fights, what do you think are is the best fight right now that we got? What y'all think is the best fight we got right now? I thought I had some shit on me, boy. I'm about to freak the fuck out, boy. What y'all think is the best fight right now? That's either done or really close to being done. I think my favorite fight is going to be Josh Chella versus Jose Ramirez. That's going to be my favorite fight. And then outside of that, it's probably going to be Andrade versus Liam Williams. I think that's going to be a really good fight that a lot of people sleeping on. Andrade and Liam Williams is going to be a good one. Those are my top two right now as far as fights that are done. You know what I'm saying? it's a really shitty year for boxing, man. This Jose Ramirez versus Josh Taylor fight is the biggest fucking fight that we have to look forward to. And it's like, yo, we barely know who the fuck any of these dudes is. Jose Ramirez and Josh Taylor. You know what I'm saying? I know both of them. I've seen both of their fights and stuff like that, but it's like, yo, these aren't the big dogs in the sport right now. Dre Way, shout out to you, my boy. What's going on? Billy Joe Saunders versus BS Canelo. Beats Canelo? You think he beats Canelo? Dre Way say you think he beats Canelo. I'm not gonna say that you're crazy for that prediction, Dre Way. On the humbles. I don't think you're crazy for that at all. I think Billy Joe has a legit shot of beating Canelo. But is he gonna get that decision though, Dre Way? Is he gonna get that decision? Because I don't see him knocking Canelo out. Is he gonna get that decision? Because to me, Billy Joe got the skills to be able to do it. He had a shit last 2 fights, but judging him at his peak, judging him at what he was 2 years ago, you know what I'm saying? He should be able to give Canelo a very, very tough fight. He has the tools to be able to do that. But will he win by decision? Dre Way says, now, if he gets the decision, that's another thing. Now, see, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Dre Way. You got to get that decision, though. You know what I'm saying? It don't mean nothing unless you get that decision, though. Actually, I take that back. It does mean something because, you know, in the eyes of real boxing fans, we know who lost and who's in the game and who's not in the game. We know what the fuck going on. You know what I'm saying? We know exactly what the fuck going on. Dre Way says they always say he fights at the level of his competition. Yeah, he fought some trash competition. You talking about Billy Joe? Billy Joe fought some trash competition. That's why he was looking trash. Yeah. We'll see. Because that looked like the fight that's going to be happening. I'll tell you one thing that I do respect about Canelo, though. I do respect the fact that, and he's pretty much copying Mayweather's blueprint. He claims he's fighting 3 times this year. He claims. You know what I'm saying? So I said this before, and I'm gonna say this again. The reason why a lot of fighters get a lot of shit, is because they fight 1 time a year. And then when they fight 1 time a year, it's against some cab driver, some motherfucker that nobody cares about. You know what I'm saying? So the thing about Canelo this year that I could say that I respect is he plans on fighting at least 3 times this year. So we got your Jiram, fine. Okay, he did the Jiram fight. That was some bull ass shit, but fine. It's out the way, it's done. But the next fight is Billy Joe. And according to Canelo, the next fight is Caleb Plant. So let's see how the fuck that works out. Let's see how that works out. And as far as Billy Joe fighting at the level of competition of his opponent, you know, I really hope that that's the case. You know what I'm saying? I want to see a good one between him and Canelo, because I know he has the potential to be able to give Canelo a good fight, if not beat Canelo. I know that he has that. I know that for a fact. You know what I'm saying? Billy Joe got the tools. But can he bring the tools out? Can he bring the tools out, or will he lay the fuck down like your Durham? You know what I'm saying? That's what we want to know. That's what the fans want to know. Is he going to lay down? You know what I'm saying? Is he going to lay down? I'll tell you one thing, man. One thing I'm surprised about is, one thing that surprised me is I didn't know how good Ray Vargas was, man. Ray Vargas is a pretty solid dude. You know, Ray Vargas is a solid dude. He's just one of them lower. He was one of them dudes at the lower weight classes, at them booger weights. You know what I'm saying? But Ray Vargas is real solid. You know, so I'm looking forward to that Gary Russell versus Ray Vargas fight. I think like Russell should beat him, but I think Ray Vargas gonna give him a little hell. You know, but we seen Russell run through dudes like that before. But again, that was about 6-7 years ago. We seen that because Russell fight once every 2 years. So we'll see what happens. You know what I'm saying? We'll see what the fuck happens, man. Drayway says Ray Vargas is good. People confuse having a big name versus being a good fighter. Absolutely, man. I was talking about that a few weeks ago. People get big name confused with good fighter. That's why when people say, oh, he hasn't fought nobody in the top 10, I have a problem with that. Because you can't become a champion without fighting somebody who's a top 5 or top 10 fighter. Just because you don't know who they are doesn't mean that they're not a top quality fighter. You know what I'm saying? It's really the stupidest shit ever, really. You know what I'm saying? But to be nice about it, it's like, bro, you can't get a belt without fighting one of them top guys in the division. Now, are they the best in the division? As far as the best, based on, you know what I'm saying, what we know as far as the eye test is concerned, or as far as your opinions are concerned, that's going to be subjective. You know, the only way to really know who the best is an undisputed champion, man. And that's one thing that boxing is lacking. We got too many fucking belts, bro. We got too many belts in boxing. And the sanctioning bodies don't necessarily want to unify the belts. They don't necessarily want an undisputed champion because they losing out on sanctioning fees. So it's like a catch-22. Not only do we have all these fucking champions, but we never gonna know who the best in each division is. That's why I'm very happy about this Jose Ramirez versus Josh Taylor fight, because it's for undisputed. It means the most right now in the sport of boxing for this fight to be happening. Not only that, but it's a good fucking fight on paper, and you have 2 undefeated fighters right now fighting for that belt. I like Jose Ramirez's last few wins, man. Jose Ramirez fought, he beat up Amir Imam. That was a close decision that he got, but he beat Amir Imam and he knocked out Maurice Hooker. Those are some dope ass wins right there that Jose Ramirez got. And Josh Taylor pretty soundly beat Regis Prograde. You know, so this is just, it's really exciting. That's probably like the biggest thing we got to look forward as far as boxing is concerned, man. You know what I'm saying? That's the biggest thing that we have to look forward to as boxing fans. But what's some of y'all fights, man? What's some of the fights y'all want to see, man? What's some of the fights that y'all want to see? You know what I'm saying? Gave y'all some of mine. Hey, y'all heard about Andre Ward saying that he wanted to make a fucking comeback? Drayway says Jose lost to Postal though. That was a gift. It seems to me it was a few fights that I thought he lost. Postal was definitely one of them. But I can if he lost, it wasn't by much. You know what I'm saying? He lost, it wasn't by much. It was a really close fight too. But it was a lot of rounds that I thought Victor Postal was winning, that they was giving to Josh Taylor. You know. But at the same time, I could see because Postal kept moving around. He wasn't really standing on any of his punches, and then he was missing with a lot of them jabs too. Draywell says Andrade retired GGG. Oh yeah, man. I talked about that a few weeks ago, man. That's an awesome fight, man. Andrade versus GGG. That's a matchup made in heaven right there, man. GGG looking to cut off the ring, looking to go to dig to the body, and Andrade off his back foot, pot shotting, just flurrying, hitting GGG with combinations, breaking them down. That's an amazing fight right there. That's an amazing fucking fight. I don't know what GGG is really waiting on Canelo. Like GGG is really just sitting back waiting on Canelo for another fight. It's so that he turned down another Charlo fight. What the fuck, bro? What's GGG really trying to do right now? I really don't. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me to have this dude sitting in a division. He lost to Canelo. He got 2 Canelo fights. Lost to Canelo. And to me, once you like collect 2 losses, especially to the same person, it should be over. Yeah, they were close fights, but it should be fucking over. And if it's me, I lost 2 close decisions. Okay, I want that 3rd fight, but I'm going to be trying to do things to redeem myself, to show people that, hey man, I'm actually the shit. This dude wasn't supposed to beat me. So I'm gonna fight this dude and I'm gonna fight that dude to show y'all that I'm the shit. You know, that would be my ideology when it comes to these sorts of things, man. But it ain't that at all with Triple G. I don't get what he's doing. I don't get how he's handling the situation. Hella weird. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm just, I just want to see some good fights, man. I just want to see some good fights. I want to see some good, meaningful fights. Some good, meaningful fights. You know what I'm saying? Good, meaningful fights, man. But I'm gonna go ahead and end this goddamn live, man. If you haven't, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video before you head on out. I will be back on Friday for Late Night Boxing Talk. I'm gonna be doing duck language part 2. So if anybody enjoyed that first live with duck language, man, we're gonna be doing part 2. We're gonna be talking about the popular duck phrases that dudes like to use in order to avoid fighters. It's gonna be a real fun little live, man. So come through, man, and I will see y'all then. But until next time, man, I'll holler at y'all. Peace.